Content warning. This video may contain graphic discussions of violent crimes, including murder, missing persons cases, and child abuse. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Please prioritize your mental and emotional well-being. Welcome back to True Crime Chronicles. To our dedicated community, it's great to have you here. And to anyone just discovering us, a sincere welcome to my channel. Before we begin, a quick note on our process. Each story is built from careful research, drawing on verified online news archives, documentary evidence, and credible public sources. We trace the timeline, so you don't have to. Now, let's open the case file together. Today, we're examining the Hamden 16. In the quiet rural village of Hamden, Ohio, a town where nothing ever happens, a secret of unimaginable horror was hiding in plain sight. Behind the walls of a seemingly ordinary house, 16 children were living a nightmare. Confined to a single room, living in filth with human waste, some unable to speak. But how did this go unnoticed for years? This is the story of the Siders family and the discovery that shocked a nation. It was a Tuesday in late June when authorities arrived at a home on Omer Street in Hamden. They were there to execute a search warrant for a parallel investigation, one involving domestic abuse and child neglect allegations unrelated to this case. What they expected to find, no one knows. And what they actually found was beyond comprehension. Inside the 1,336 square foot home was a family of 4 adults and 16 children that were living in conditions that officials described as pure evil. The scene was so horrific that Ohio Attorney General Andy Wilson said he couldn't get the smell off of me nearly 24 hours later. The children, aged from 18 months to 18 years old, showed signs of severe neglect. Some were unable to speak, and the oldest, an 18-year-old with developmental disabilities, couldn't even spell her own name. 7 of the children were rushed to hospitals. 2 were so severely ill they were airlifted by helicopter to level 1 trauma centers in Columbus. 1 child was in critical condition and had to be intubated. The 4 adults arrested were the children's parents and grandparents. 73-year-old Gary Siders Sr., 67-year-old Christina Siders, their 36-year-old son Gary Siders Jr., and his 33-year-old wife Elizabeth Siders. They were each charged with 16 counts of second-degree felony child endangerment, each charge carrying a potential sentence of 2 to 12 years in prison. The investigation revealed that for the past 4 years, the children had been largely confined to one room, a space roughly 12 feet by 12 feet. The home had only 5 rooms and 1 bathroom for all 20 of them, but it wasn't just the overcrowding. The conditions were described as deplorable. There was a high presence of bacteria and human feces throughout the home. Investigators had to wear masks just to enter, and the garbage was so stacked that they couldn't even reach certain areas. Here's the chilling part. They weren't enrolled in school. The Vinton County School District had no records of any of the children ever being students. The family had moved around southern Ohio for 2 decades, avoiding creating a medical or governmental paper trail. They were, as Wilson put it, pretty adept at keeping these kids out of sight. The house was on a trust, but had running water and utilities in the name of Christina Siders, painting a picture of a functioning home from the outside. How did a family of 20 remain hidden in a village of less than 1,000 people? The question haunted the tight-knit community of Hamden. Local business owners like Emily Collins lamented, "Right under our noses, and nobody was able to help them sooner." Neighbors who lived just feet away were shocked. Josh Odell, who lived next door, said, "Honestly, the house seemed abandoned. I had never seen a child in that yard." He could see the backyard from his home, and in 5 years he never saw a single sign of life. Another neighbor, Joseph Stewart, who lived 3 doors down for 6 years, told authorities he saw no kids at all. He'd seen the adults at the local Dollar General, but never the children. Even a man who worked at a food pantry the family visited weekly said he saw a few children sometimes, but didn't see anything that would tell me anything like this was going on. The house sat on a road alongside a railroad embankment, partially hidden by trees, but clearly visible. It was so quiet, so ordinary, that the sounds of 16 children were never heard. The only possible hint on Monday, a warrant was issued for Gary Siders, 2 for 4 counts of indecent exposure, incidents that occurred at the home on Omer Street just weeks before. In court, all 4 suspects pleaded not guilty, with a judge setting bond at $300,000 each. The defense attorneys have urged the public to let the process play out. Dorian Baum, attorney for Gary Siders Sr., asked for the court of public opinion to reserve judgment. Elizabeth Siders' attorney, Thomas Stoley, offered a glimpse into a different narrative, painting his client as a victim herself. He claims she was crying and exhausted, her first question being, "Are my children okay? And when can I see them again?" Stoley argues this is a case of isolation rather than evil, pointing out that Elizabeth was only 15 when she married Gary Jr. and had her first child 2 months later. He insists that while the headlines are sensational, there is a real human component to this tragedy that deserves time to be fully understood. The investigation is far from over. Sheriff Ryan Kane has admitted that one of the biggest challenges is the children themselves. Many are developmentally disabled and have extremely limited communication skills, making it difficult to piece together their full story. The family's history of moving across southern Ohio with ties to Jackson County, Pike County, and even Wisconsin means investigators are now trying to determine if this pattern of abuse occurred elsewhere and if it went unnoticed in those communities as well. The children's ages, as detailed in court records, paint a staggering picture of relentless childbirth: 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 8, 6, 5, 4-year-old twins, 2-year-old twins, and finally, 18-month-old twins. Records show Elizabeth gave birth just 2 months after her wedding at 15, suggesting this cycle of isolation and control may have been decades in the making. For now, the state of Ohio has been granted temporary custody of all 16 children. They are receiving medical and psychological care, though the road ahead for them is long and uncertain. Prosecutor William Archer has assured the public that this was not a human trafficking case, but an intrafamily situation. However, as the community of Hamden tries to process the unimaginable, one question remains. If this could happen in a quiet village where neighbors watch out for one another, where else could it be happening right now? The Siders family is set to appear in court again as the investigation continues. For the 16 children rescued from that room, their lives have changed forever. As Sheriff Kane said, the scene was horrific and the allegations are horrific. But now, for the first time in years, there is hope. That concludes this chapter of the True Crime Chronicles. The stories we share here are more than just mysteries. They're real-life events that remind us of the importance of awareness and empathy. If this case resonated with you, please help us grow our community of truth seekers by liking this video, sharing it with someone, and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and keep seeking truth.